Okay, go ahead.
I'm Wendy. I'm from South Stevens County, Washington, up in the mountains. I've lived here for about 6 years, and I have a couple encounters with Bigfoot. The first one probably about 4.5, 5 years ago, around the first time I moved here. Um, we were out across the street by the big rock, and we were out cutting this giant tree down, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye across the creek, and I looked over my shoulder, and there happened to be something like big and furry sitting behind a tree, and it looked like it was going back and forth, kind of looking at me and my boyfriend at the time. And he peeked back behind the tree, and I saw him. He had like brown and tannish fur, and he had like this white ring around his face and a darker brown face. Um, I sat there for like maybe 5 minutes, going back and forth, basically playing peekaboo with Sasquatch. It was pretty cool. Um, my second encounter would have to be here at the house. We hear this big yell, like banshee yell, and it was like freaky. I had some friends over, and they immediately went home. They were freaked out. Um, I had one of my dogs had happened to run up behind the house, and we decided we were going to follow it up there, and we got probably 60 yards away from it when it started screaming at us, like yelling at us not to uh, go any further, I believe is what he was saying. And my dogs went up to it. I guess they don't care about dogs. But uh, over the course of a week or two, we would leave food out, like fruit. And we left apples and oranges one time, and he ate the apples, but he didn't like the oranges. He threw them back in our yard. I left a bag of cherries for it, and it must have liked them because it ate them. And when he, like a day or two later, he left us a present at our front door, and he pooped. Probably the biggest giant poop, I'm talking this big. And it went from my front door all the way out here to the front door of my car. It was so gigantic. And ever since then, I haven't really seen a lot of him, but I think he's still out here.
So I asked you earlier, and this was in reference to whether you believe that it stays here and or whether it goes somewhere else and comes back.
I think he migrates. I do. I think he goes from different areas with his family, and they have different safe zones. I think is what I consider it, safe zones where they can go and they don't have to be seen by people.
And as you were here one time working on your truck, Daniel, this thing threw rocks at you,
It
and
threw. It ended up throwing rocks at me and her ex. We were working on a truck right here, and from somewhere up on that hillside, which it had to be a pretty good throw because we had a pretty massive light on, so we could see pretty far, and I couldn't get a glimpse of nothing. But those rocks came sailing down, and they'd hit us, land next to us, and the first time it happened, one hit me, and I accused his girlfriend, but my wife now, of throwing rocks at us and messing with us one day. And he just started laughing at me, and it's like, no, it's not her. She's in the house. It's Squatch. There's probably a young one up on the hill. And that's where, going back to how me and her both feel that they do have other places that they will travel to that are safe for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this one has been one of their safe places to raise a family. Because back when I was coming out here every weekend, it was one winter, I decided to leave at like 3 in the morning to try to make it to work Monday. And I was left out Hasseltine, but there's a big hill on the other side. And it had snowed a good 7, 8 inches. And I was in an O2 Impala, so no snow tires. I got stuck down by our swimming hole, which is about 3/4 of a mile or so, a mile from here. And I was stuck in the embankment. But I tried to get myself out, and I could get my car to rock a little bit. But as the night started to wear on, started paying attention, and I noticed that there was something out maybe 100 yards from me that looked peculiar. Because I'd spent so much time out here, I kind of knew the lay of the land, and I don't remember seeing these like 3 or 4 trees that were sitting out across, just kind of watching me, I felt. The hair on the back of my neck was standing on end, but it did make me curious. So about daybreak, when I actually could see and I felt safe enough, me and my dog got out and started the walk all the way back to here. And as I got up to where I was about parallel, where I saw what I thought were trees, there were no longer trees, but there was what looked to be like could be a game trail that came in, like how multiple deer will pack down a whole area. But the peculiar thing is it was wide, and didn't look like a bunch of hooves went through there. It looked more footprinted, but it was so packed that I couldn't tell anything. And I have no idea where they went when they hit the road either, because a plow had just gone by.
And so, Wendy, you also said that you think that you're just right up above there, on your place there.
About
when we start our walk,
100 yards that way.
100 to, you'll see it when we hit it. You can't really see it from here, but it's kind of back up where our well's actually at. It's in between us and our well, I think.
Okay, so that was one of the reasons what I was one of the questions I also had was, so there's a water source up there then?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
we have gravity-fed wells up there, 2 giant things, and there's a big cistern that leads down to the water spring where everybody gets their water down here.
Yes.
It actually pretty much, the whole spring runs through our property and runs down to that.
There's multiple springs up behind our house, and
yes.
When we go on our little walk, you'll understand why I feel they like the area a lot.
Yeah.
It is steep though.
Okay, so aside from anything else, you think that you could tell me about what time of year or month that this might happen?
Spring and late fall.
Except my encounter happened
in the middle of the winter.
Yeah, it was like maybe beginning of January. It was right around the New Year's. I remember that.
Alrighty.
Because it was cold. That's why I didn't want to take the walk. Plus, I didn't have a flashlight. I had a firearm, but it doesn't do you no good if you can't see what's coming at you.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.